Who is it?
Where's my
Who is it?
Where's my phone? Where's
How many times have you had something intensely happy happen in your life? Moments like being reunited with family and friends after not seeing them for a long time. The first sound that your baby makes when it's born into this world. Landing your dream job for the very first time in your career. Setting a goal and hitting it for the first time. Proving to yourself you are capable of far more than you ever thought possible. There are so many moments in this life that are so intensely happy. They could even be as simple as a fond memory that you had when you were a kid. I'm Britta Albert, if this is your first time here. I am a spiritual transformational life coach. It's my goal for this channel to help you overcome the obstacles that are standing in the way of you living your best and most authentic life. See if this channel resonates with you. If it does, be sure to hit that red subscribe button and also hit the bell notification so that you always get notified of my future videos. For today's video, I want to ask a question. Is trauma always negative? Have you ever thought of that before? All right, so let's take a step back. When you are healing trauma, what is the number one thing that you have to do in order to heal that trauma, in order to let it go, let it pass through you? You have to feel it. When we're afraid of memories and there are things in our past that we don't want to think about, it's not the memories itself or the experiences that we're afraid of. It's the emotional memories attached to those experiences. If you could remember something that was quote unquote traumatic that happened when you were younger, but you had no emotion with it, there's no emotion tied to it, it's just simply an observation, benign, there's nothing that makes you feel a certain way about it, well, do you really consider it trauma? When we're healing trauma, the number one thing that you need to do is to feel that emotion, feel that energy, and allow it to pass through you. There's another lesson that I've learned time and time again, and that is people who've been doing the work to heal trauma are getting thoughts, having dreams that cause them to feel emotions they don't want to feel. And this is not new. And essentially, it's that your body is processing through trauma that you've already healed. And there's a residue left over from the work that you've already done. You may have already healed that trauma, but there's some residue of that experience. So when you feel that feeling again, and you get angry and upset, and you're like, why am I still feeling this? I don't understand. What more is there for me to do? I've healed this trauma. I've felt everything that there is to feel. I've forgiven myself. I've forgiven other people. I don't understand. And we start to blame ourselves and we start to judge ourselves. Or sometimes we might have thoughts in our head that come out of nowhere. And you're like, oh my gosh, why the heck did I just think that? And it's this instant knee-jerk reaction of, oh my gosh, like, get away from me thought. When I was younger, I actually used to rebuke those thoughts in the name of Jesus. I smile because now I understand what it is, and it's not necessary to rebuke those thoughts. When I'm rebuking them, I'm literally rejecting it. And there's two parts that happen when you reject it. Number one is it becomes part of your shadow self. And all that shadow work that you've been doing, you're gonna have to redo it because you're continuing to resist and push these things back down. You're judging these aspects of yourself. The second thing is the residue. So when you have residue, think of it as, okay, so for example, if you healed a trauma where you felt betrayed, then you had a dream where somebody betrayed you in the dream. And you woke up and you're like, well, why did I even dream that? I have no right to feel betrayed by this person. They can do whatever they want, it's their life. And you start to really think into this dream that you had, and you start to judge yourself or judge this dream as wrong or negative. That is where we get into processing the residue that's left over from healing work that you've already done. So think of it this way: if your life is going great and you're doing all of this healing, well, of course it makes sense that if you have a more negative energy that you need to feel in order to let it clear and pass through you and leave your body for good, that it's not going to happen just like that. You're not going to sit down and be in a place of heart-centeredness and joy and be able to put yourself in this mindset of betrayal and hurt. So what happens is these thoughts come into our mind, or we have these dreams, and these dreams or thoughts, they're vessels, they're opportunities to allow us to get into that headspace, to feel what's left to feel, really be present with it, just observe it, don't fight it, don't resist it, don't judge it, don't say it's wrong, don't push it away, because what you're doing is you're actually pulling onto that more, you're holding it to you, you're not allowing it to pass through you and heal and process and leave you for good. So the reason that I posed this question of, is trauma always negative, is because the Google definition of trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Now, there can also be physical trauma due to surgery or childbirth or accident. So you have physical trauma, which might not have a negative emotion associated with it, but it's still trauma to the body. So I'm wondering if perhaps when we look at trauma, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice by only focusing on the negative. I recommend perhaps to look at trauma as this definition instead: any highly intense experience, either emotionally or physically. So for me, trauma is going to be when something happens and a part of your brain has to shut down in order to process. You kind of go into the survival mode in order to get through what's happening. But we have experienced that on the positive spectrum as well. Now, bear with me here. Have you ever had so many amazing things happen at one time simultaneously that you're not able to fully grasp or comprehend what's happening to you in that moment? Editing Britta here. There is an example that I didn't think about in the moment that I wish I would have, and that is the same thing that would happen to you as a child when you have a birthday party or have a holiday, maybe Christmas, when you're receiving multiple gifts at the same time. There's a lot of overwhelm that happens, overstimulation of joy that's happening simultaneously in the moment. Just wanted to give you that example because I felt like that might actually fit better than the original example that I gave. Like the first part of this video, maybe you had a family member who is away overseas and you know they're safe, you talk to them daily, they're coming home, you know they're coming home, you know when they're coming home, so you're mentally prepared for all of this, but then the moment that you see them, it's like time stands still. Things stop. Your brain kind of shuts down and allows you to experience part of the moment. Even though it's really, really good, it's really, really positive, you're not present for the entire experience because it's just so much that your brain can't process everything in the same moment. It takes a couple of days or maybe a couple of hours to kind of sit with it and realize, like, this is real. You're finally home. You're actually here. I'm actually here with you. You're not going anywhere. You don't experience all of that in the same moment. You're just experiencing the joy and the appreciation and the gratitude and all of the positive emotions that go with that experience. So just like we have to heal negative trauma, you have to feel it. I believe that we also heal naturally positive trauma, that high, intense, happy experiences, like I just said. So again, how do you allow this to process? Because again, to put it simply, everything is energy. Everything comes back to energy. And there has to be a balance in everything. There's just a balance of flow. So if positive comes in, positive also comes out. It means you feel it both ways. You feel the positive as it's coming in, and you also feel the positive as it's coming out. So a couple days ago, I was at the grocery store, and if you follow me on Instagram, I'm gonna go ahead and plug myself on Instagram. I was at the grocery store and I was just overwhelmed with this love for humanity. Now I'm in a position, just like many of you, where my employment is kind of non-existent. I'm currently building my coaching business. This is where my focus is going. I don't have a clear look at what the future is going to hold, but I know what my plan is for this, and I know that this is the direction that I'm being called in. So I really could use this time to worry. I really could justify in my mind being in a place of fear. And as I was going through the aisles of the grocery store, I just felt this joy overcome me, radiate from my heart, and just surround me. And I stood there and I just smiled, and I loved it so much that I was just holding and I was embracing the feeling of joy and love and peace and security and safety that I had by myself in I think it was the canned vegetable aisle at the grocery store. Nobody was there, nobody saw me, but I just stood there and I experienced it. And when it was over, I didn't understand why I experienced it, but I even thanked Spirit for it. I said, thank you God for allowing me to feel this emotion right now. I'm so grateful to be able to be present with this feeling of love and gratitude and joy and peace. Why would you question where that comes from? How many times have we felt joy and didn't even question where it comes from? Because why would we? It's not something that we're going to push away like a negative emotion or a negative memory. The things that are on the negative spectrum, we push them away because they hurt. They don't feel good. They're uncomfortable. They're not something we would choose to experience if we didn't have to. When it's something on the positive end of the spectrum, of course, give it to us all day, every day. We love it. You can't get enough. You're insatiable. So why, again, if you feel happy out of nowhere, why would you question it? You wouldn't. If we can experience the negative emotions with the same love and joy and ability without resistance as we do the positive, where we don't judge it, we don't question it, we don't shove it away, we don't ask it why it's there. Who cares if you feel happy, right? Why would you ever push that away? And I'll tell you, that moment in the grocery store, I wish it could have lasted all day. I wish it could have lasted for an hour. But in reality, it was probably 10 to 15 seconds. And I felt it, I was present with it, I loved every beautiful, glorious moment of it, and then it was gone, just like a summer breeze. So imagine when it comes to the negative spectrum of trauma, think of trauma again as a spectrum. You have your extreme intense happiness and you have your extreme intense unhappiness, suffering, pain. And our traumas are intense experiences. They fall somewhere in between. So when it comes to the things that are more on this end of the spectrum, the things that we don't want to experience, if you can allow yourself to feel it in the moment and just don't question why those thoughts are coming into your mind, don't judge yourself for thinking those thoughts, don't rebuke them like I used to when I was younger. Just allow them to be observant and say, okay, I see that some anger is coming up right now. I don't know where that's coming from. So that tells me that there's some residue that I'm processing through. There's some energy that just needs to flow through me. And when there's no resistance, it's gone. 10, 15 seconds. Even if you wanted it to stay, it's gone. And you don't have to feel that specific one again because you've processed through it. The residue is now removed. The more room you can make by releasing energies, either positive or negative, the more room you have for the flow to come back to you. So many times when we think about the trauma that we've suffered, the trauma that we've endured, again, focusing on that negative end of the spectrum, what we do is we unintentionally put ourselves in victim mode. Now, what happens when you put yourself in victim mode? You're giving your power away. So instead of thinking about trauma as solely negative, when you think about trauma as a spectrum, you're able to take your power back and see it for what it is. See the energy passing through you for what it is. That trauma is not you, either positive or negative. It just simply is. I learned a new word specifically for this term. I wanted to look up what the word is when something is neither good nor bad. And the word that I found is adiaphorous. So think about trauma as being adiaphorous, neither good nor bad, neither hurting nor helping. It just is. It just is something for you to process. It does not make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a good person. It allows you the opportunity to learn. It allows you the opportunity to let things go. Because the more that you resist, when you judge a thought or you judge a feeling, you don't want to feel it, you're pushing it away. You're not getting rid of it. You're just reburying it, and you're causing so much more work for yourself when you're already trying so hard to heal yourself. So do yourself a favor. Stop putting yourself unintentionally in victim mode. Look at trauma as a spectrum rather than solely negative. It's an intense experience, yes, but it's not one that you need to resist. When it comes to the negative side of trauma, the more negative end of the spectrum, you don't need to be so fearful feeling it. Because once you feel it, once you've acknowledged it, once it's there, the residue is gone. The residue can leave. It processes, its energy, it just flows. As long as there's an open current, it'll just flow. But the moment that you block it, it can't leave you. Even if it wants to, which it does. Energy is naturally meant to go. So what happens when we push things aside, when we bury them, they're going to keep coming up. You're going to continue to have opportunities to allow for it to process through you. So it's going to start with fleeting thoughts. If you don't get that memo, then you'll start having dreams. And after a period of time, it's not going to be just, oh, you get one shot. It'll be months, possibly even years of you having opportunities to face it and feel it. Eventually, something will happen in your life that you'll manifest a scenario to feel those emotions. Again, would you rather just feel them now for 10, 15 seconds, this residue that's there, you've already done the healing work, feel it, allow it to process, and you're done? Or continue to fight it, continue to wrestle with it, continue to judge it, judge yourself, whatever you're doing, push it back down, and now you've just created more work for yourself. This is exhausting. This work takes so much courage, so much heart. Don't sabotage yourself. Give yourself grace. Give yourself love. Because it goes so fast. When there's no resistance, you feel it, you acknowledge it, you're aware of it, and it's gone. It is that easy. It really is that easy. Again, if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And if there's anyone that you think needs to hear this message as well, please share this video with them and help us continue to grow this community. I love you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.